All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. CNN's front page this morning: no end in sight to Texas outages, officials say. And I want to show you what's really going on here in Texas. This is manipulated, and it's meant to send a message to the people that they won't forget. Everyone who's in their houses right now, freezing with weather they've never experienced, with no power, no way to warm themselves up. This is what we warned about all last year. And granted, when I was warning about this, I didn't think they'd do it to a place like Houston, Texas. I didn't even realize they had the capability to funnel in that much cold air to bring the temperature that far down below what they're used to. But again, if you guys are new here, and we talked about this on GematriaEffectNews a lot last year. I even have a chapter in my new book about the darkest winter that's coming, and people better be prepared. You know, I put this out, this released in August. But we were talking about this because all last year, it started last spring of 2020, you had the testimony of Rick Bright, right? And Rick Bright's phrase that got echoed a million times by a million different news personalities, politicians, was, "The darkest winter is coming." And right after he said that, then Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum came out and said, we need the Great Reset in 2021. And you think about, a light switch, a reset, the darkest winter. So we're looking at all these things. And then on the day that Chadwick Boseman died, August 28th, Public Enemy came out and said they're coming out with a new album called What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down. And when you get done with this live stream, I suggest you go over to YouTube and you just listen to the album. There's commercials between each song. I guess you could download it on iTunes or something if you want to support Public Enemy, but I think they sold out. But this album came out, and we said, oh my goodness, we did a lot of work on this album and just how it released by the numbers and how it foreshadowed that they're going to take the power grid down by the numbers. And a few weeks before Valentine's Day, I put out the post and talked about it briefly in a live stream about how Valentine's Day looks like the next day we need to look out for the power grid to go down and maybe some weather warfare. So we're going to review all of this, but I want you to see how the Public Enemy album release date, September 25th, was perfectly synced with Valentine's Day. This album, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, came out September 25th, exactly 142 days before Valentine's Day. And the majority of the world writes Valentine's Day 14/2 like 142. And from Chuck D's birthday, Chuck D's the front man for Public Enemy, it was 197 days after his August 1st birthday. That's the 45th prime number. Rituals 45, Hip Hop's 45. But again, there's so much more to this, and we'll cover it. Again, what worried me about this album cover is that it was set in Arizona. That's Arizona in the background. And Public Enemy put out the album in 91, Apocalypse 91, and on that album has the song By the Time I Get to Arizona. And, of course, Arizona was the last state to recognize Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is what that album's about. Arizona's known as being this weird racist state. The one thing Arizona definitely does right is they do not do, what do we call it? Daylight savings. They don't do that. The time just always stays the same in Arizona, and it really should everywhere else because we all know daylight savings just messes us up. But what bothered me about this when I saw this album cover, if you go to my old blog where I originally started, freetofindtruth.blogspot.com, and you go to the side, hold on. How do you do it? Hold on. If you go to the side and you go back to, if you close up all these years and you go back to 2013 and go to October, the very first post I put on here, I start with Janet Napolitano. On August 27, 2013, Janet Napolitano, Secretary of Homeland Security, resigned. In her outgoing speech, she warned of an upcoming serious cyber attack that could take down our power grid, right? So I was all alarmed about this because she stepped down in 2013, and it was like right around the same time I learned about Gematria, because I learned about this in August of 2013. But the thing about Janet Napolitano is she was a politician in Arizona, and she was from New York, just like how Public Enemy's from New York. And then on this album cover, they got Arizona. And I was just, this is what I was talking about when I first started my channel all the time. about how Janet Napolitano has told us that the next big 9/11 is going to be the power grid going down and it's going to bring chaos in America. And, it's 7 years later. These people oftentimes do their predictive programming, years in advance, decade in advance. I mean, 2021, this August will be 8 years since she made those remarks. And, again, you just got to say, what are the odds of these things? What you going to do when the grid goes down? And this came on the back of all of the talk of the darkest winter, And look at what they do. In the winter, they take down the power grid. And that's why if you were following me on GematriaEffectNews, we did at least 10 videos, 10 live streams where I said, you guys, really, I'd go out there, I'd get a propane stove, I'd get some propane gas, I'd have this just in case you're in one of the areas where they take down the power grid. And who knows, they might take down the power grid in the whole nation. And notice, all corners of the U.S. have had the power grid down. I've been fortunate that the power grid didn't come down here in this small town, but, Portland, where I'm from, the power grid's been down. And you know what? My sister, they've been without power for 3 days, so they're staying at my mom's house. And I almost feel like my mom should have been cruel and told her to stay in her cold-ass house and freeze her ass off because she deserves it. Because my sister's one of the really ignorant people who hates any talk of like the type she thinks I'm a psychopath for exposing this and talking about this information. She thinks I have some sort of mental illness. She's super ignorant. She thinks nothing's wrong in the world. And, even right now, she would just say all this is a coincidence. That's why, honestly, I think my sister deserves to freeze her ass off in her house. But, and she's been rude to my mom, too, because my mom's been trying to wake her up to all this stuff. And I think my mom should have said, you know what, Jen? You deserve to freeze right now. You can just freeze your ass off in your house for all your ignorance, and you can think about how brain dead you've been. Because, really, that's the reality. I don't feel bad for anyone right now who's suffering, who's one of these types of people like most Americans are like, oh, conspiracy theory, that's so dumb. They're getting exactly what they deserve right now. Now, meanwhile, I feel bad for all the people who are awake and who are freezing their ass off, like my friend Darrell in Houston, who's, he right now, him and his lady are covered up in the blankets, like holding each other, just trying to stay warm. I feel terrible for them. I feel terrible for all the people like that. But, the majority of people in Houston are probably ignorant-ass people just like my sister. And honestly, they all deserve to be frozen like popsicles, and I'm not joking. These people are what's wrong with the world because they think they know it all. They don't know jack shit, and they're the reason these things are still going on. If they'd all wake up and join forces with what we're trying to do here, we could shut this down. But anyway, going to go through all this stuff again. So again, from the day this album released to Valentine's Day, 142 days, and this is when all the crazy weather came, and we saw that this was going to come, because again, at the beginning of the year, well, I'll get to why. I first picked the date as January 15th, and nothing happened that day, and then I went back to the drawing board. I said, okay, what's the next date that makes sense? And I'll show you why I thought it might be January 15th at first, but then I said, Valentine's Day has the same numbers. But let's just go over everything again. So Houston, Texas got it the worst. A lot of places are getting it bad, but Houston's getting it the worst because they're used to hot weather down there. They're not used to cold winters. Most days in the winter are probably around 50 degrees. If it gets real cold down there, it's probably in the 30s. But, man, they're in the single digits. It's been 5 degrees there in Houston. They are not used to that. And to make a point, we're up where I live in the Pacific Northwest. We're used to, it being in the 30s in the winter. I don't think it's ever gotten to 5 degrees up here in my lifetime, and we live up in the north. But anyway, Houston, Texas had that Gematria 46 like Great Reset. All these things go together. The darkest winter, the Great Reset, what you gonna do when the grid goes down. And the man who's behind the Great Reset and the World Economic Forum is Klaus Schwab. And again, from his birthday to Valentine's Day was exactly 46 weeks. Their motto, he's a Jesuit. The Jesuit motto, we're going to, again, see how the Jesuits are behind all this. And I'm going to show you how you people in Texas, you should all funnel down to Austin, Texas, and go to this power company that controls all of your power down in Jesuit, Austin, Texas. I've told you guys a million times, Austin is Jesuit town. That's why that Jesuit shill, what's his name, Alex Jones operates out of there. That's why that other Jesuit shill, Joe Rogan's gone there. And think about those two idiots. Those are the two voices of the truth community, and they're both full of shit. But anyway, from Klaus Schwab's 82nd birthday to February 14th, exactly 46 weeks, the Jesuit motto is Order out of chaos, which in Latin, the way they write it, is Ordo ab chao, which is 82 and 46. Fox News had the headline freezing to death about how bad it is in Texas, freezing to death 82. This started on Valentine's Day, which has the Gematria 74, like cold. And Fox News also did the headline Lone Star Freeze, which is 74. And get a load of this. The power company in Texas that controls the energy there is ERCOT. I'm sure they replaced Enron. But ERCOT is 74 like energy, right? And then here's the bigger trip. Their full name, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. Look at it. Has the gematria of 172, like what you gonna do when the grid goes down, like Public Enemy, 172. And again, they operate out of Austin. They're out of Austin. And remember, Austin is the exact same as Jesuit in all 4 base ciphers. Oh, I also forgot to tell you, the Jesuit motto Ad Merum Dei Gloriam, which means for the greater glory of God. If you read about historians who've documented the evils of the Jesuits, that's a phrase they often say before they do evil things, like murder people, probably take down the power grid in Texas. And again, it's the same Jesuits that control your media and have scared you about Islamic terrorists that they've made up for boogeymen on TV, who supposedly say, Allahu Akbar, God is great. It's really the Jesuits who say phrases like that before they conduct their terrorism. But notice in the 4 base ciphers, Austin and Jesuit, the exact same. The exact same. And if you're new here, the 4 base ciphers are the alphabetic order, to where Austin and Jesuit are 84. The alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, Austin and Jesuit 21. What year are we in that they're doing this? 2021? In the 21st century? And again, if you're new here, you guys, this knowledge pays big dividends. Did I not tell you guys on January 2nd that Bitcoin would be worth between $45,000 and $50,000 on Valentine's Day? Because I sure did. You can go back and watch that video. And how much was it worth on Valentine's Day? It got up to $48,000. And it just passed $50,000 the other day. And again, it's all ritual. The Jesuits control Bitcoin. They control pretty much all financial instruments. They control your media, your government, your military, your weather. Jesuits, New World Order. But anyway, Austin, Jesuit, the exact same in all 4 base ciphers. The alphabetic order, both 84. The alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, considered the most pure cipher, both 21. The reverse alphabetic order, just meaning running Z is 1 back to A is 26. They both equal 78. Remember, Tesla equals 78 in that cipher. And on the 78-year anniversary of Nikola Tesla, Elon Musk became the richest man in the world. Shows you what a Jesuit puppet he is. And then the reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, Austin is 42, just like Alex Jones. His birthday is February 11th, the 42nd day of the year, the good little Jesuit puppet. Shill. But again, you guys, just how perfect these rituals are. How perfect they are. And I should also mention it was 322 days after Klaus Schwab's birthday. The number of Skull and Bones, which is named after the Knights Templar who served the Catholic Church just like the Jesuits. And keep in mind, Valentine's Day is a Catholic holiday. And the word Catholic is 46 as well. Like there's 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. Like how we have the second Catholic president right now, Joe Biden. And the election was exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. And the only other Catholic president in U.S. history was JFK, who was assassinated at age 46. But understand, all roads lead to Rome. The language is credited to a Catholic monk. The English language. The calendar we're on is credited to an English monk. Or not an English monk. The calendar is credited to the Catholic Pope, Pope Gregory. So it's called the Gregorian calendar. But again, they got it all synced up, you guys. The language, the calendar, and they've been conducting their rituals like this ever since they put it all in place in the 16th century. And again, it's not an accident that at the same time Houston's without power, there's headlines about how J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson want to leave town. Again, Watts, energy, power. Again, they sync it all up, you guys. 9/11, Patriot Act, Patriots. The new 9/11, as predicted by Janet Napolitano, the power grid going down. And then in the NFL, the city getting it the worst. Their star player, Watt, wants to leave at the same time. It's just mockery, you guys. It's just mockery. And let me see if I'm tripping or not. I feel like J.J. Watt has that 84 connection too. Hold on. Yeah, his name is 847842. Just like Austin is 847842. And what is it about Watt alone? I guess it's not Watt alone. It's just the J.J. Watt thing. But Again, just other rituals on the same day. Oregon's birthday is Valentine's Day. Oregon's another state that got hit really hard, and a lot of the state doesn't have power, like my sister who lives in Portland. That's where we're from. But again, they got an ice storm that knocked out the power because, for people who don't know, if when ice gets heavy on the power lines break and fall down. And a bunch of other crap goes wrong, too. Trees fall down on power lines. But just notice how Valentine and ice storm go together. Exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. Again, Oregon 74, like Valentine's Day, like energy, on Oregon's birthday, which is Valentine's Day. And realize Oregon's the only 74 state, which is probably why its birthday is Valentine's Day. But, and again, they had to report 201,000 people were without power, which is probably a false stat that they just threw out there. The Jesuit Order 201, they loved that number. The first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, Mr. 201. And as we'll get to, one of the big reasons that I circled, because you guys remember at first I circled January 15th. I said, man, we got to watch out for January 15th. That could be the day they take down grids all over. It didn't happen. So I was like, I'm actually surprised they didn't do it on January 15th, because that date can be written 15/1 like 151. So I was like, what's the next date? Because I know it's not being too far off, and it's got to be in the winter. And I said, look at the Gematria Valentine's Day. I'll show you how Valentine's Day and the Great Reset really overlap, but notice they have that 151 connection, because, again, this is the biggest number with it. The Great Reset was announced on June 3rd, 2020. 151 is the 36th prime number. June 3rd can be written 36 like 36. But notice how the Great Reset, Valentine's Day, power outage, they all come together so perfectly. And again, this is how these people operate. And again, the man who called for that Great Reset is this Klaus Schwab character. And again, it was exactly 46 weeks after his birthday, you see? And Great Reset 46, Houston, Texas 46. Days before this happened in Houston, the R&B singer from Houston from the group Ideal, Cedric Cotton, was stabbed to death at age 46. Again, so many rituals in Houston with 46. But just to go back to the Public Enemy album, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down? Again, they announced it the day that Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther, died, and that's not an accident, because in the beginning of Black Panther, when you see his apartment in Oakland, where the Black Panthers were founded, you can see the Public Enemy posters on the wall. There's 2 of them in the scene. And when the first action scene of the movie is him coming out of a plane down at some enemies, and he throws this technology, and it knocks out the power on their vehicles, right? And so then that same day that he dies, Public Enemy comes out and announces their album, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, is coming out September 25th. And look at this. From Chuck D's birthday, August 4th, to that release date was his 56th day of his age. And Society of Jesus, that's the official name of the Jesuits, is 56. Just like Power Outage is 56. And like Darrell's telling me down in Houston, the neighborhoods that seem to have the power going out the most are the black neighborhoods in Houston, which doesn't surprise me at all. Because look at what day that album came out. It came out on Chuck D's 56th day of his age, on September 25th, a date that can be written 25/9 like 259, and Black Lives Matter's 56 and 259, and it's synced up with the death of Chadwick Boseman from the Black Panther. I mean, again, this is the mockery, you guys. This is the mockery. And when you're done with this live stream, I do encourage you to come over here and listen to the Public Enemy album, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down. It's free on YouTube, but you do got to listen to the ads. It's got the intro track, and then Grid is the second one, and they got Cypress Hill on there. It's a throwback, but, they're talking about how everyone's so addicted to the internet and all this stuff, and how, you better get your mind right, because, man, you guys are all going to be depressed with what's coming, and I haven't even finished listening to the album. I got through the song Toxic, and then I fired up this live stream, but I will finish listening to the album, too. And I will listen to it again, because I'm sure there's all sorts of little predictive programming clues in there. That's how this shit works, man. That's why they always do this to us with their entertainment, forecasting what's coming. It's psychological preparation. You survey America. Go and survey America. What do you see in the next 30 years? What kind of a world do you see? It doesn't look good. And why do you think everybody has this same thought in their head? Because they've been watching the same movies that for the last 15, 20 years have been predicting this apocalyptic future, this zombie wasteland. Everybody's been watching The Walking Dead. And I knew right when that show came out, because I've been awake since 9/11, even before 9/11, but I've been awake since 9/11. When that show, The Walking Dead, came out, I said, man, they're telling us something with this one. We are The Walking Dead. We don't see what's going on in this nation, who really rules over us and where they're leading us to, which is the cliff. They got those big Georgia Guidestones up since March 20. Hey, March, okay, that's another thing to remember here about Klaus Schwab, and this coming 322 days after his birthday. March 22nd, 322, which happens to be J.J. Watt's birthday, but March 22nd, 1980, the Georgia Guidestones were put up. Those huge, massive stone pillars etched out in 10 languages. And the first one is maintain the Earth's population at 500 million. Just like how Amazon redid the show Utopia in 2020, which is about billionaires that want to depopulate the world and get the population down to 500 million. And that number 500 million, again, it comes from history before fossil fuels were discovered. Somebody's going to get mad. They're not fossil fuels. Oh, okay, you know what I'm saying. Before petroleum products were pulled out of the ground, the Earth's population was said to be 500 million. And then it grew rapidly once we had the energy we pulled from the ground, because then all of a sudden we could grow more food, way more productivity. So all of a sudden we still had the means to sustain more life on Earth. But 322, again, it's the number of skull and bones. It comes from the Bible. It comes from Genesis 322, knowing good and evil. When you write out Abrahamic religions, it's 322. When you write out ancient mystery religions, it's 322. And the ancient mystery religions are paid tribute to in Genesis 322 because it mentions the tree of life, which comes from Kabbalah, which is the most significant of the ancient mystery religions, which is where Gematria comes from. Because in Kabbalah's Book of Formation, it stated God created the world with numbers, letters, and words. And if you decode the verse Genesis 322 with the New International Version and the King James Version, even though they use different wording, they both equal 322. So big boss number there, 322. But again, this album, what you going to do when the grid came down, or it was announced the day Chadwick Boseman died, and it released on Chuck D's 56th day of his age in a clear Jesuit ritual. And remember, the Jesuits controlled the Black Panther Party. Look up the history of the Black Panther Party. They had all their original meetings in the Bay Area, which is a very Jesuit city, in Catholic churches. Because the Jesuits in the Catholic Church control the show, and they're the divide and conquer gang. And that's what religion is too. Religion is divide and conquer. That's how they keep people stuck where they are, fighting over themselves, over nothing, over the make-believe that they're given. Truly, make-believe religion they give you. And people are so invested in it. They know it's so real because it's been told to them by the authorities. Make-believe virus they give to you. They just get rid of the cold and flu, and they just tell you there's this new thing out there, and you need a vaccine for it. And it's all make-believe, but they got people fighting over it. Everyone's strapped up with their face diaper. I don't wear a face diaper ever. I just go everywhere every day without a mask. Been totally healthy. Been avoiding all the BS rules. Every now and then somebody will say something to me. I'm sure if I lived in Seattle right now, people would be saying something to me every day. And I honestly wish I lived in Seattle right now because I would love that. I love confrontation, you guys. I love putting people in their place. I ain't afraid of no chumps, no punks, no morons, no programmed, whatever they are. I love it. Bring it on. But, hardly anyone said anything to me, but when they do, I just, I tell them, man, you need to wake up. You need to pull your head out of your ass. Go download my book. I made it free. And I'm in the post office all the time shipping books. So I'm like, you know what I'm here today? I'm here to ship some books about how bullshit all this is. Anyway, all this stuff is controlled and created by them. And again, it's because they exploit the laws of Hermeticism. The first rule in Hermeticism is all is mental. That's why they're always controlling people's minds with their propaganda and their authority bullshit. And they've done it to us since we were kids. And again, if you go back and look at all my report cards growing up, almost all of them say the same thing. Good student doesn't respect authority. And you know what? That final part was the most important quality about me because I never respected authority. I didn't think anybody was my boss, not even my own parents. I was like, no, nobody's telling me shit. I know what's going on. I think I'm smarter than everybody else in the room. And you know what? That was probably true 99.9% of the time. I can remember one kid growing up who was smarter than me. His name was Dan Parks, wherever he is in the world right now. He got a full ride scholarship to MIT. He's probably controlling the weather machine right now. He hated everybody else. That's what else I think about. I think about how all the smart kids were the bullied kids, and they all grew up and probably got the best jobs, and they're probably like, fuck humanity. Dan Parks is probably with the joysticks right now, ice blast in Houston. But anyway, that's another story. So, and shout out to Dan Parks. I don't know that he's really doing that. I don't even know the guy's still alive. I haven't seen him since high school. But He was very smart. He got a 1600 on the SAT. Anyway. Oh, and with regards to this whole 56 thing, when Janet Napolitano warned about the next 9/11 being the power grid going down, she did that on January 24th, 2013. And look at this. From her birthday on November 29th to the day she did that was her 56th day of her age. Are you kidding me? Again, she was a politician in Arizona. She's from New York. Public Enemy's from New York. They got the album By the Time I Get to Arizona. And then they got their new album, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, with Arizona on the cover. And I mean, she's the politician who warned about this. Then their album warns about it. Again, you guys, it's not... I just realized something. When you read out New York, it's 39 in the most pure cipher. They love that number in New York. Arizona is the only other state that's 39 in the most pure cipher. And think about how after 9/11, that was the World Series, New York and Arizona. But look at this. Valentine is 39, right? Because again, it's all synced up with Valentine's Day. New York, Arizona, Janet Napolitano, Public Enemy. And these are big agendas. Federal's got that 39 in it. Masonry's got that 39 in it. It's a biblical number from the Old Testament. And of course, in the Old Testament, the real Hebrews are black. And in the end of the Bible, it talks about these false Jews, the synagogue of Satan, who'll be in control of things. And I see I got dummies in my comments who are arguing with me about the election, saying it was going to be Trump when I was telling them all year it was going to be Biden. And now these same dummies are leaving comments about who's not in the synagogue of Satan when they clearly are. I don't even want to say anymore, but these same people need to take a hike. I always try to give these people the benefit of the doubt, but I realize they just hang around to spread their false information. You're wrong, Zach. It's going to be Trump. You just watch. It's going to be Trump. No, it's not. It's clear Jesuit Catholic ritual for Biden. Argue for months. Wrong. Now they're back spreading more false information. I see why certain people hang around. They are probably calling from the FBI and CIA headquarters. Anyway, don't be telling me who's not in the synagogue of Satan when it's clear as day on their face. They're Italian, not... you can't be Italian and also part of the synagogue of Satan? I'm sure there's all sorts of Italian Jews, let's be honest. False ones. Anyway, again, Klaus Schwab, the Great Reset, the man who called it for the World Economic Forum, the same entity that forecast the coronavirus pandemic 1 month before the coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan, China. Again, look into everything the World Economic Forum's done in recent times. Event 201, the Great Reset, and somehow all of their things are perfectly synced up with the days they land, and it's all coded by the Jesuit numbers. The first case of coronavirus in the world, coronavirus equals 56, was 56 days after the coronavirus outbreak simulation. I mean, give me a break. But, again, this guy, he called the Great Reset. And this is why after January 15th, nothing happened. I was like, okay, I got to figure out when they're going to do this. And then I realized, I was like, oh my God, it's Valentine's Day. Because you see how the Great Reset and Valentine's Day are the exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers? And then it's got that 151 and 52 like power outage. The Great Reset, the darkest winter power outage. All goes together so undeniably. Again, Valentine's is a Catholic holiday. The Catholic Church, the Jesuits, the Knights Templar, this is the New World Order. Again, it's 46 weeks after Klaus Schwab's birthday, like Catholic 46, like how we're in the time of the second Catholic president, number 46. And did you guys notice that President's Day fell on the 46th day of the year this year on 15/2 when Joe Biden equals 152? Again, that just shows you how scripted everything is. For that to happen, it means that pretty much every president leading up to Joe Biden had to have had a scripted, planned presidency, which is exactly what I've been arguing the whole time I've been here, that this whole country is a contrived, New World Order machine, and everything's being done by the numbers. And all these elections are fake. They're rigged, completely controlled. The only way for there to have the 46th president in the year that President's Day falls on the 46th day of the year 15/2, the only way is if it's all scripted all the way up. In 2016, we said why it would be rigged for Trump. 2020, we showed why it would be rigged for Biden. It was all about 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. But notice, you read about Valentine's Day, big word in the original thing is martyrdom, which also has the 46, like Great Reset. Again, like the Ordo Ab Cal's 82 and 46, and Valentine's Day was 46 weeks after Klaus Schwab's 82nd birthday, the man who coined this thing, the Great Reset. And, yeah, I was wondering if they might do something with coronavirus, too, because, again, Pope Francis wrote the encyclical Fratelli Tutti about what to do about climate change and coronavirus, and Agenda 21, which is aimed at the year 2021, is about getting the world on board with taking on climate change. And like I said, you guys, that was the other thing what I was telling you about the election, besides just the 46 thing. What do they call it? The Green New Deal. Oh, well, it's just Green New Deal alone is what it is. Green New Deal. Because I was telling you, the election's on November 3rd, 11/3. It's the 59th presidential election. And back when we first started, those were the only ciphers we knew. We didn't know the reverse. These are the original ciphers I've been talking about since 2013, the two most important. They're all important. Even the reverse is important too, but what we were saying is, the election's so perfect for this Green New Deal. We said it looks like the Democrats could take power of the Senate, House, and Oval Office, just like they did when Biden and Obama took office in 2008. They had everything. The Democrats are really working for this Green New Deal. Agenda 21 in 2021, if they bring some radical stuff for the environment, really get people thinking that climate change is out of control, they'll be able to force through these new draconian measures for what needs to be done to curb climate change, which is, and you guys, again, the U.S. government has acknowledged weather modification tactics since 1965. That's 56 years before 2021. And realize, Jesuit in the most pure cipher is 21, and Society of Jesus is 56, just like climate change is 56, just like coronavirus is 56. And again, they said because of coronavirus, they got on board with a lot of the Agenda 21 goals because people were consuming less, commuting less, and traveling less, which were all goals of Agenda 21. But since 1965, the U.S. federal government's acknowledged, doing these aerosol injections to curb climate change, and 2021 just happens to be 56 years later. Again, the Pope's encyclical about what to do about climate change is Fratelli Tutti, 56. Pope 56. And what to do about coronavirus. How all this stuff comes together so perfectly. It just goes to show we are living out a planned, scripted agenda. It's like when I showed that Newsbenders clip from 1968. Shout out to Dr. Savage for finding that. They're talking about, that came out in 1968, that episode by the BBC, about planning the news 5 years out, And they're recruiting the guy to help write the news stories for 1973 and 1968, and he's like, what? He's like, yeah, here, let me show you some of the news stories we already have planned for 1973. And he's playing the audio recordings and showing the models. This guy's like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, we've been doing this for decades. Oh, man, you guys. There's people like my sister right now shivering their ass off, ignorant as hell, demonizing people like myself, who had she listened to, along with the millions of other people just like her, we could have torn down all this infrastructure and all their shit would be over with. I'm telling you, you tear down their HARP bases. You take away their funding. You take away their government, their media. They can't do this to us. This is all being done to us because we're ignorant to what's actually going on. My sister is a super ignorant person, as are most Americans, and she likes it that way. Because anytime you start to tell her something, she starts making noise. Oh, I don't want to hear about it. Stop talking. Go home. It's like, God, what's wrong with you? What, you can't entertain the idea of information? And now, look at her. Freezing her ass off, and she needs to go over to my mom's house because the power's still on over there. And you know what? This is just getting started, you guys. What's going on right now, this is just getting started. It's just going to get worse and worse with time. Next time, my sister's not going to be able to go over to my mom's house because the power's going to be out there too. Then you're really going to be up Schitt's Creek. Everywhere you're going to be freezing your ass off. Had my sister tuned into my videos, I told everybody what to do. I told everybody what to do last year. I said, they're going to do this to us in the winter. You better go out and get some propane tanks. And Darrell's not out there right now because his power's off. But Darrell's problem, even though I love him, man, and he's freezing his ass off in the sheets in Houston right now, he really only cares about my sports work. I'm not too into the other stuff. I'm just into the sports and proving to people sports are rigged. That's not enough, you guys. He missed all the videos on go out and get some damn propane tanks. I talked to him yesterday on the phone. I said, you got propane and stuff? He's like, no. I said, man, I told you to get all that. I told you to have a propane stove. And I did. I told you guys several times. We've been covering this shit all year. I wrote a book about it. You know, nobody can say I didn't call this. It's in the book. It is, hold on. Where's the darkest winter? Chapter 7. Chapter 7. Right here. So. And you guys really should go out and support the book. And if you're too broke to support the book, I made it free. The ebook, I didn't make the physical book free. I can't do that. I'm not rich. Book hardly sold any copies. I was hoping you guys would go out and buy the books. We'd have some resources to, get the word out further, but people don't read anymore. But I did make the ebook version free on my Patreon page if you want to go download it. Patreon.com/Zachary K. Hubbard. And again, you guys, what's going on right now, it's not Mother Nature. It is the work of man, technology, demons maybe. Again, I think about how Native Americans did rain dances and brought in the rain. So I guess, that's some kind of spiritual power energy. I'm sure you can use it in an evil way too. But something's definitely going on, man. Something is definitely going on because these people don't miss with their numbers. We proved that last year. Again, understand the significance of this 52 number. How Valentine's Day has this 52. The word earth is 52. The word flood is 52. The word hurricane's 52. I was watching CNN last night, and they referred to what's going on in Houston right now as the winter Harvey. That's how they referred to it last night. And remember, Houston flooded from Harvey on a 52-date numerology on the 239th day of the year, which is the 52nd prime, on a date that we said to expect flooding in Texas a week before it happened. And that's because in my first book, Chapter 18 is about how weather warfare was first admitted to by the Royal Air Force in 1952 when they did an experiment that caused flash flooding that killed 30-some people in a rural town in the UK. And from that point up to the present, there's been so many weather-related disasters in connection to 52. And that's why on May 7th, 2020, which was a 52-date numerology, mainstream science said it was going to be a worse hurricane year than normal in 2020. And I said, look at that. They're putting that out on the 52 date, like hurricanes 52, like Earth's 52, like floods 52. I said, let's just go through hurricane season right now and circle all the 52 dates and see how many of them hurricanes fall on. So we circled like 10 dates from July through October. And again, out of those dates, a hurricane landed on every single 52 date but one. And the one day it didn't land on, which was October 2nd, a hurricane formed in the ocean that day, which was not an accident either. It's all the same. And year after year, we proved the same things. And again, it's exactly how we called Houston to beat LA in the World Series the year of Harvey, because Matt Harvey was the first pitcher to pitch in Houston after the flooding of Harvey 52 days before the start of the World Series. And again, it just goes to show how scripted it all is. The same people who control your sports leagues, control your military, your government, your media. That's why they had Matt Harvey's team scheduled to pitch in Houston on that day, 52 days before the World Series, right after the floodwaters subsided from the city. That's how scripted it all is. And again, their script, though, it has real consequences. Just ask the people who lost their property from Harvey, all the other people who've lost their property from their contrived storms, and ask the people right now, even though they're saying 10 or so people have died in Texas, I bet you it's way more than 10. I bet you a lot of homeless people who are used to living out in the cold in the winter, They didn't see the 5-degree weather coming, and they probably froze to death. Again, they want to reduce population. The world elite don't see any value to homeless people. They have no value to them. They're not paying taxes. They're not consuming other than, the change they get. So, well, I guess they're consuming a very tiny bit. But again, they're the least beneficial people in their eyes. They're consuming the least. They're paying the less in taxes. They're probably, eating up funds from the social service programs. So they're a group targeted. You know, just like written on the Georgia Guidestones, maintain the Earth's population at 500 million. Whoever put those things up on March 22nd, they didn't see homeless people in their utopia. And remember that show Utopia that just got remade by Amazon about depopulating the world with a virus. So I notice my Twitter keeps getting real close to 10,000 followers, and then I'll come back on and I'll have lost like 200 people. It's like Twitter won't let me get to 10,000 people. They just keep dropping people. Like the other day, it was at 9,997, and I was like, I wonder if I got to 10,000. I log on, I was like back down to 9,700. I was like, what the hell happened? And it just keeps going on. I keep losing chunks of hundreds of people at a time. So, again, just all this censorship on social media. It's like they don't want me. I don't know if once you reach 10,000, if your tweets reach more people or how it works, but there's some reason they don't want me to get to 10,000 on Twitter. I just started using Twitter recently. I probably have a lot bigger following had I been using it all this time like I've been using YouTube, but I realized I got to branch out and use more social media, so. Oh, and by the way, this other story up here about Prince Philip taken to London Hospital, I almost did a video on this yesterday, but I was in the grocery store, and I noticed in the magazine up there, the Inquirer or whatever had an article that said, "Goodbye Philip," and then it said, "Married for 73 years to Queen Elizabeth," and I was like, oh man, 73 years? Again, what I tell you guys before this year started, watch out for deaths in 73 rituals, because sacrifice is 73, like ritual sacrifice is 73, and 73 is the 21st prime number, and it's 2021. And I was like, well, and then this is the breaking news today that he's hospitalized. So it just shows you, even those tabloid magazines, it's all the mainstream and the tabloid, it's all the same. You know, they had the story out before he goes to the hospital, "Goodbye Philip." So, I mean, this is supposedly the breaking news today. I saw this yesterday in the grocery store. I took a photo of it. Oh, I left my phone in the other room, but I'll do a video on this later. I'm sure he's about to kick the bucket, so I'll just show you how the Inquirer seemed to know all before it even happened. And another video I'm going to do here in recent days is, did you guys see the Dalai Lama the other day spoke out and said he wants to be reincarnated at age 90? Because, again, that's the belief with the Dalai Lama, is that he's always reincarnated and he shows up in another body. But I'm going to show you just how the Jesuits no doubt control the Dalai Lama. It's just so obvious when you know the code. Everything that happened in Tibet is a Jesuit ritual. The Jesuits controlled China. I'll cover that later, but the Dalai Lama said he wants to die at age 90 and be reincarnated. So that just shows you these world elites. I think that's what's going on. That's why they die by the numbers so perfectly. They must... I was going to say they must believe in this, but God, maybe somebody figured out how reincarnation and all this really works. Maybe you go out by the code, you come back by the code. I don't know. But just all these old-ass celebrities that die in these perfect rituals, Rockefellers, Bushes, all of them, you know. There's just something too perfect about it, so save that for another time. And remember, it is Wednesday, so I'll be doing Truth Frequency Radio tonight. Again, Truth Frequency Radio, the call-in program every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern. And if you can't listen on YouTube, it's on tfrlive.com, Truth Frequency Radio. So I'll save the calls for tonight because, 3 hours of radio and call-in. We'll do the calls then. So if you really want to call in now, save it for later. And I'm sure I'll probably be back between now and then. I'm sure there'll be more news to cover today. It's Jordan's birthday. It is 17/2 today, but yeah, this what you gonna do when the grid goes down, man. Should have saw that earlier. 142 days before Valentine's Day. It was all there the whole time. Yeah, and go and check out the album, you guys. You got time, check out the album. Predictive programming at its finest. Till next time, Truth Seeker.